distinguished minority leader has prejudged an administration that is just starting. There are still 5 years to go, but he refuses to talk about what happened the past 7 years, 9 years, bigger. And on warfare, I beg to disagree. It may be true that in the end, it's the artillery, it is the infantry, it is the cavalry that would win the battle. But the march started using symbols. Without the symbols, the army would not march. Without the beat of drums, the army would not advance. Mr. Speaker, the Imperial Japanese Navy, for example, before abandoning the ship, would remove the portrait of the emperor. That has nothing to do with artillery. That has nothing to do with firepower. But that would be a ritual that they cannot forgo, Mr. Speaker. Symbols are very important in warfare, in nationhood, in athletics, in sports, in what we're doing here in the House of Representatives. I'm really saddened that just because the President has used a very eloquent symbol, the wang-wang, in order to transform the society, our distinguished minority leader would prefer to minimize this and even say that it is not necessary, Mr. Speaker. Now, let me talk about...
Let me just answer that point.
But there will be no end. I just answered your answer.
Well, I will have to make a rejoin, but it is my time.
Okay.
I am just lending my time to the interpreter. Mr. Speaker, while it is true that symbols are important, but actions are more important. Let us go to the triple agenda mentioned by the President in his sonats. He said that we should prioritize the enactment of 7 measures. After 1 year, the 7 measures, not a single one of the 7 measures has been enacted. He said that his economic vision is exemplified by public-private partnerships. After 1 year, no public-private partnership project had been hit. He said that his centerpiece of good governance is anchored on his anti-corruption campaign. After 1 year, no case has been filed at the instance of this administration, and definitely no conviction had been attained. So, this is what we are saying. Symbols would be inadequate if they are not complemented by correct actions. And the correct actions of the present administration is one thing. We might have some faith in symbols, but we do not have much in actions and accomplishments.
Mr. Speaker, again, I don't want to belabor the point, but as far as I know, in practically all fields of human endeavor, it is symbols that generate action and not the other way around. Symbols are very important in all major human undertaking. That is the reason why there are slogans, there are flags, there are logos. These are symbols that have nothing to do with the structure. They will not make the building stronger, but it will make the idea more overpowering, that will capture the imagination of people and make people support that idea, Mr. Speaker. Now, going back to the graft and corruption trial, the distinguished gentleman, minority leader, forgets that there was one obstacle, and that was the office of the Ombudsman. It took us a while to ask the incumbent Ombudsman then to fade away and far as the anti-graft and corruption drive was concerned, but before that, it was very difficult to take any initiative. And one classic example of that is the Plea Bargain Agreement entered into by the Office of the Ombudsman, by the prosecutors with the Ombudsman, or General Garcia, that has set him free, made him walk. That is the kind of fight against graft and corruption that was still a hangover from the previous administration because of this holdover position being held by the former Ombudsman. That was the key impediment, and we had to take action as the House of Representatives and vote overwhelmingly for the impeachment of the then incumbent Ombudsman Marcelitas Gutierrez. Our deputy, our distinguished minority leader has forgotten this. This is a major development as far as the fight against graft and corruption was concerned. And for as long as that issue was not resolved in a very decisive way, there was no way that a meaningful and honest-to-goodness anti-graft and corruption drive could have been implemented, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues.
Mr. Speaker, it is the distinguished gentleman from Paranaque who forgets that the major impediment to the drive of corruption by the present administration was that the President was enamored with the Philippine Truth Commission. We wasted 1 year defending the contrite validity of the Commission, which the Supreme Court has finally jettisoned because it was a vehicle for selective contribution in the language of the Supreme Court. And the distinguished gentleman forgets that there is another agency of the government where cases of graft and corruption can be found, and that is the Department of Justice, a statutory body which complements the constitutional body called the Office of the Ombudsman. But this administration has not filed any case before the Department of Justice. One of our colleagues filed a case, and look what happened. The Secretary of Justice said that he was not going to proceed exercising jurisdiction over the case and deferred action to the ill-fated degenerative effect of the Philippine Commission. Now, they say that the previous Ombudsman was partial and not neutral. But they have not filed any case before the Ombudsman in order that the neutrality, viciousness, and impartiality that the Ombudsman will be tested. They presume that she was partial and she was co-opted. But that is not the proper appreciation of the law, because our law presumes regularity and exercise of the power. Had there been a case filed before the Ombudsman by the present administration, which we did not, we could have tested the impartiality and neutrality of the then Ombudsman.
Mr. Speaker, that statement is speculative at its best value. Speculative because it was a statement of a wish, a hope, but what was so clear was she was an impediment, and the clearest example of that was how the Garcia case was handled. The Garcia case was quiet for a while, but a lot of people thought that was already a resolved done case until they sprung the Plea Bargain Agreement to us, not only to us in the House of Representatives, not only to this representation who had a hand in initiating the cases against Garcia in 2004 and in 2005. But practically the entire legal community was shocked by this development, this Plea Bargain Agreement. Just read the papers, read the column mentions, and look at the overwhelming vote of this House of Representatives. I forget the exact number now, but that was a record vote of about, I think, 280 in favor of impeachment. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, that to me is the clearer judgment on the performance and expected performance of the Ombudsman. Well, the Truth Commission, this has been resolved by the Supreme Court, and we have to respect that. But the administration did not take a pause and mark time just because it was being argued in the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, while the Supreme Court, while we were awaiting the decision of the Supreme Court, a lot of issues came out, a lot of truth came out that did not lead a Truth Commission. I mentioned that already. The 1 billion pesos for coffee, the 728 million fertilizer scam that was finally filed by the acting Ombudsman, not by the previous Ombudsman. The previous Ombudsman appeared to have dribbled the ball. The 7.1 billion peso PR money from PCSO. And so many other issues for example, issues that have come out in the open, and of course the latest one, because of the different and more positive climate that respects the truth and respects a witness, would be the coming out of Superintendent Soriano, talking about how they switched about 6,000 ERs in support of some candidates and violating the premises of the House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, these are truth, a lot of truth coming out already. So the country, the government did not sleep. The fact-finding opinion through the effort of the executive branch, helped by allies in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, Mr. Speaker. In spite of all these impediments and in spite of all the obstacles, a lot of truth came out, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the distinguished gentleman talks about truth. But in our country, which is governed by the rule of law, truth should be validated in the furnace of judicial scrutiny. That is the rule. One can claim he's telling the truth, another say he's telling the truth, but the final arbiter of what is true, as far as criminal cases are concerned, would be the judicial. That is why, in the case of the Garcia plea bargaining, Sandigan Bayan ruled that the Garcia plea bargaining was valid. And if there are those who would like to question the Sandigan Bayan's decision, that they should move for reconsideration or appeal. But until that decision is overturned by a higher court, then that should stay.
Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, the members of the Sandigan Bayan are not impeachable officers. If they were, I'm very sure that an impeachment proceeding would be considered against those responsible for affirming the Plea Bargain Agreement. course, I'm just speculating. I may be one of those who might take the initiative, but that is already water under the bridge now. We cannot.